Welcome back, everyone, to Open Line. Glad you're with us tonight. We are talking with elder law attorney Chris Johnson. He's joining us via Zoom, as all of our guests do now, from his office up there in Hendersonville. He's an attorney with Takacs McGinnis. We've seen Tim Takacs. We've seen Ms. McGinnis on here. It's good to have Chris Johnson answering your questions about this issue that affects so many people. We have Crystal on the line now. Hello, Crystal.
Yes.
Go right ahead. What's your question?
Okay, so I'm 62 years old, and I gave my Section 8 up to stay with my son. So my son told me that I have to get out, and I'm on a fixed income. It's me, my daughter in a wheelchair, and my grandson. So I don't know really what to do.
All right, can I try and clarify this? You're 52 years old, right?
62.
62.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you've been told that you have to leave your residence?
Yes.
And you don't know what to do. Who's in a wheelchair?
My daughter, she's 37, so she's disabled also, and she's in a wheelchair. And I have a grandson who's 9 years old who I take care of.
Okay, and why do you have to leave the residence?
Because me and my son had got into it, and he just told me to just get out.
He just wants you to get out. So you need to find a new place to live. Okay.
Yes, I do.
All right. Thank you, Crystal. I hope things work out. Thanks for sharing your story. Chris, I don't know what you can say here. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, that one's incredibly tough. When you have people under economic duress, as a lot of people are these days, and they're being told that they need to get out of the residence, the first thing I would remind any person in that situation is that tenants have rights. There are formal eviction processes that any landlord has to go through in order to evict someone. They can't just come in, tell you to get out, change the locks, etc. There is a whole process and procedure to go through. And so that's the first thing, is I would make sure that they're going to go through those procedures. The second thing is you're going to want to reach out to whatever community resources you can find out there, and I'd reach out to the Social Security office. I'd reach out to my local charities. I'd reach out to the local food bank. I'd reach out to my local churches, and they're going to be able to hopefully find her a soft landing place, and a place to kind of regroup if and when an eviction process becomes inevitable. And so it wasn't clear on that. They are incredibly difficult things to go through. It is important for people to know, especially the tenants, they do have rights. They can't just be simply tossed out on their ear and have everything put out on the curb. And they need to make sure that they stand up for those rights and be given some transition time. That's the very best I can offer on that. It just sounds like a very terribly difficult situation.
Yeah, it does. Crystal, okay. Well, Crystal, I hope that helps. Thanks for calling in, Crystal. I want to ask you, Chris, about COVID and nursing homes, and there are going to be a lot of families that are very concerned about putting their family member in some sort of long-term care facility. What are you seeing? What would you recommend to a family that is concerned about that, maybe has put it off? What's kind of the landscape out there right now?
I think the landscape continues to evolve. I think right now, if you ask me which way it's trending, I'd say it's very much trending in the right direction. It's trending in the safe direction. Those frontline healthcare workers, of which the staff at senior facilities are definitely there. They're getting vaccinated. The residents are getting vaccinated. And I think that's a major milestone and a big hurdle cleared in giving people that peace of mind and that comfort that, yes, my loved one or myself, if it's a senior citizen who's planning on moving into an assisted living or independent living facility, that they're safe there. And for a family who needs to move an elderly parent into a skilled nursing facility, it's the same thing. Are they safe? And I think for the most part, people feel like, yes, this was a big unknown. We think back to last March and when everything shut down and no one was quite sure what was happening. This was kind of all brand new to everyone. And I think they handled it as adeptly as you could hope for, given the situation, the hand that they were dealt. They put in protocols and procedures, I think, faster than the rest of society. The hand sanitizing, the cleaning, the social distancing, and doing everything they could because they recognized early on that their residents were in the vulnerable population. And I think these days they've been doing that. I mean, when you think about it, we've been doing it, Ben, for almost a year now. I really think, I think the shutdown in Tennessee was middle of March, and we're about a month away from that, from the 1-year anniversary of that. And over that time, their protocols and procedures have gotten better and better. We've introduced the vaccine into that, and I think that's a big deal. We hear some rumblings that visitors might be allowed again at a few of these facilities as the vaccination rate gets up and meets a certain threshold. I don't want to, count our chickens before they're hatched, but at the end of the day, I think they're doing the right thing. I think they were given a Herculean task. And all things considered, I think they acquitted themselves. I think for the most part, there are the exceptions, yes, but I think for the most part, I think they acquitted themselves very well under very extraordinary and uncertain circumstances, and with the vaccinations and with solid protocols and with better therapies for people who still do catch the virus. I think you're going to see that the doors are going to be open and that people are going to start feeling like, yes, I can move back into these communities. I can feel safe. I can feel comfortable that mom or dad are going to be there and be safe, and that we'll be able to see them. I think one of the really terrible side effects of all of this has been the social isolation, and it's not something that we talk about a lot, that our senior community, when they've been isolated in a facility, that is draining. It's emotionally draining, it's mentally draining, it's physically draining, and that's not good for anyone's health, both mental and physical. And I think people are recognizing that getting back to some level of normalcy is important, and I think we're getting to the point where that level of normalcy can come back, and can come back in a safe manner.
Yeah, that is one of the most heartbreaking things, the no visitation. I mean, that is brutal. And so I was going to ask, are you seeing visitation start back up? It sounds like not quite yet. And then vaccines, do you feel good about vaccines, being distributed in a prompt, kind of quick manner? You feel like that's moving along, or what would you say?
I would. Every day we hear more and more people say, I've got the first dose, or I'm on the schedule for the dose, and that number just continues to grow, and that's a great thing. No, I haven't seen any facilities open up yet. I don't think we have, but you hear the rumblings, and you hear I think they have probably internal metrics of, okay, what do we feel comfortable with? And no one wants to be the one that opens up too soon, especially, no one wants to grasp defeat from the jaws of victory. When you're right near the end and near that finish line, there is that tendency, that feeling like maybe we can let up a little bit. And I think there's some credit due to these facilities who probably are receiving some not so pleasant feedback because of the isolation, and it's not unwarranted. They are really inside the horns of the dilemma, but I think what they're saying is if we see this through and we continue this caution until we know the vaccines have been distributed to all of our employees and staff, to all of our residents, then we can very cautiously and very prudently begin to open things up. I think that'll make a difference. And so I give them all credit again, what they're doing. I can't imagine being handed the situation they've been handed in trying to navigate it, especially flying blind for the first couple months until they really got their feet underneath them and got their bearings. So, yeah, I think we'll see it. My guess is we'll start to see a shift come late spring or summer as these vaccination numbers. The question is, can the vaccination numbers keep it up? I think the current administration wanted 100 million doses in the first 100 days. And I think at day 100, we'll see. Are they on pace? Are they ahead of schedule? Or are they behind schedule? And that'll give us a much better idea.
Let's go to Betty, who's waiting here. Hello, Betty.
Yes, Ben, I want to tell you, you look really nice today.
Betty, thank you. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. I'm wearing a vest. I don't always wear this vest, but I really appreciate that. Thank you, Betty.
I've got some questions. I want to tell you what I've done. I'm 79 years old. I live at I'm living by myself at my own home.
Okay.
And I've got my power of attorney. My son is my power of attorney. He has been since 2006. And so anyway, I've got my funeral arrangements made.
Okay.
It's already paid for and taken care of.
Great.
And, well, I reckon that's about it. But I wanted to know, is it anything else that I need to do? I've got my medical power of attorney, and I've got my power of attorney, and my funeral arrangements made. Is there anything else I need to do?
Betty, thank you for that call. Thank you very much. I think that's a great question, and I appreciate the compliment. So thank you, Betty, on that. But okay, so yeah, that's a great real-world question. 79 years old. She has power of attorney. She has her funeral arrangements. Power of attorney is with her son. She said something else too. So she's doing some things. What do you think about what you heard?
Yeah, Ben, the first thing I think is that she's done a lot of very good things, and I think she's ahead of the power curve compared to most people. So things that she mentioned that were critical: healthcare power of attorney and durable general power of attorney. That latter power of attorney kind of being your legal financial power of attorney. She's got those. She has a trusted person in place. It's her son. The question I would have regarding those powers of attorney is, does she have a backup plan? No plan should have a single point of failure. Is there a successor power of attorney if her son were incapacitated, if he were abroad, if he predeceased her tragically, which would be awful? But is there someone to step in his shoes? So that's the first thing. The second thing that I took note of is she's living at home on her own. That's also great. Are her care needs being met? We talk about the activities of daily living all the time. Are you able to bathe yourself? Are you able to prepare and prepare your own meals and feed yourself? Are you able to dress yourself, toilet yourself? Are you able to move about in your home without being a fall risk? And because the biggest thing that is going to increase her care needs and her care costs is going to be a catastrophic medical event, and we don't want to see that be a self-inflicted one, a trip and fall or something like that. So we want to make sure she's safe in her environment. As far as the other legal documents, I would think at a minimum she'd want a basic will to make sure she has personal property. She's got tangible personal property, and she probably has some money in her bank accounts, and she wants to make sure that that passes to certain people. At a minimum, she can do that in a will. She can do some of that via beneficiary designation forms on her accounts, so she can get with her bank and say, say at my passing, I want this account to go to maybe her son. And that's an easy way that takes something that would have had to have gone through probate and takes it out of probate, makes it a non-probatable asset. If she wanted to avoid probate altogether for everything, she could look at putting together a revocable trust. So the powers of attorney are great. Her still living at home, kudos to you. That is very impressive to still be managing her own affairs the way she is. So she's done a lot right. I feel like she's, maybe at the 10 or 15 yard line. We just had the Super Bowl. What we want to do is get her across the goal line. And so those are the things I would want to know. Do you have a will or a revocable trust? And have you taken those last final steps?
Okay. All right. All right. I appreciate that. And Betty, thank you. Thank you for calling in, sharing your situation, because that probably helps a lot of people who have a similar sort of situation, similar questions. So thank you, Betty. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. I want to talk about wills. Always fascinated when we start talking about wills. So we'll take a break, and if you want to call in, there's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Take a break. Be back right after this.